the treasure ahead of them. Piles of gold, platinum, diamonds, crystals, whatever. The typical loot. As they look at their treasure waiting for them, an evil laugh fills the chamber as a floating monstrosity rises from behind the pile, tendrils, eye stalks flailing around. Its twisted grin only mimicking that of the dungeon master as he says to his players, roll for initiative. It is a beholder. Hello everyone! My name is Rick Quasar, and welcome back to Dungeons and Dragons and Discussions. Beholders! They suck. Like, a lot. Pretty much broken, with a whole array of who knows what. They have literally everything. Wizards fear them. Barbarians probably don't really like to go toe and toe with them. They're just an all-around broken monster. I mean, there's obviously more powerful things, but you don't get much more powerful than the Beholder. But today's question is discussing if they are a little more broken to certain races. But before I spoil the question, let me get the two guest stars here. On my left is Sir Evan, the
Hello.
humble bard, and on the right is Sir Ben. I'm not sure which class you play most often because you played quite a couple. I'm gonna say the wizard though because that's the one that I'm fond of the most. All right, so gentlemen, we're talking about beholders, but we're also talking about beholders and Warforged. And the question to you is, can beholders one-shot kill Warforged with the Disintegration Ray?
That's very interesting.
So I know there's a lot going on right here between the Disintegration mechanics with the Beholder and the Warforged mechanics as well. So the first question right now is, in D&D, they are living constructs and humanoids. Where does Warforged fall under? I came prepared. That's what I was doing just a couple seconds ago. But I have the stat blocks for Warforged and the descriptions right here. So Warforged is called Living Steel and Stone, right? And people argue whether they're classified as humanoids and living constructs. So what is our immediate thoughts right here?
I mean, my immediate thought was obviously to look at what the book says, because for the most part, they point out what creature type something is.
And it does say humanoid, right? But many different people have been arguing that they're also living constructs.
I personally, I do get that they are humanoid. I am a part of that. I think they kind of are constructs, in my opinion. But I know why they're not constructs. I've heard about the reasoning and all that crap. And also, if the Wizard of the Coast says they're humanoid, they're humanoid. Yeah, but they could be, in my opinion. I think they could be counted as constructs in a little, quotation marks.
Gotcha. And yes, this is for everyone watching. This is opinions of us, and each dungeon master run your campaign differently. You want to rule it as a construct, rule it as a construct. You want to rule it as a humanoid, rule it as a humanoid. You do you, right? It depends on each person playing. But for now, what are we going to rule it as? Because depending on what we rule it as, this conversation is going to go a whole lot differently.
This is actually a little bit more difficult than what I thought it would be. Looking at the race, at least according to the page that D&D Beyond pulls up when you look at the race,
Yep.
the only mention of it being a humanoid is in the flavor description of stuff. It does not actually say humanoid when describing its traits.
Exactly.
And when you look up what creatures have Warforged in their name, you have, from what I can see, you have a Warforged soldier, which counts as a humanoid.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a Warforged Titan, which is a construct.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a Warforged Colossus, which is also a construct.
Mm-hmm. All right. So I'm looking at the race details actually about the
Right.
Warforged, and in the one that's talking about living steel and stone, and for the viewers over there, I will post it up so that you guys can see it as well. But under the living steel and stone, in the very last stanza, it says, although they were manufactured, Warforged are living humanoids. So resting, healing, magic, and medicine skills all provide the same benefits to Warforged that they do to other humanoids. So they're living humanoids, but also like the first paragraph in front of it talks about them being a blend of like steel and stone and other like inorganic materials, wood sometimes, things like that, right? So it's like, oh yeah, they're humanoids, but there's nothing really humanoid about them.
Mm-hmm.
I think the reason why they did it, one, I think they did it for balance reasons. Because
Mhm.
imagine where you're facing a beholder, and you're probably going to get into this later, I think.
Yeah.
But if you're a construct, just like how magical armor is, or like I'm talking about sentient armor.
Yep.
If you get hit with that anti-magic field
Mhm.
against anything, like there's this lizard thing that has an anti-magic field. You get hit by that, you're done. You're out. You can't fight for the rest of the fight. And how strong is
fair.
that against a Warforged? So probably Wizards of the Coast was like, okay, timeout. It's a construct, but we're just gonna say it's a humanoid to make life easier for the player.
I didn't even think about the anti-magic meme. So
That's a
because
good point.
that's a great point. Like, because if it gets hit by that, then, and if it's a contract, then boop, it's gone. All right. So for rulings, we can say that it is humanoid. However, I still am gonna make my case because for Warforged, as far as where is it? The different thing, the abilities that it gets. First things first, let me pull up the description of the Beholder Disintegration Ray, which is let's see here. Disintegration Ray. If the target is a creature, it must succeed on a DC 16 dexterity saving throw or take 45 10d8 force damage. If the damage reduces the creature's 0 hit points, its body becomes a pile of fine gray dust. That is terrifying. It's giving me flashbacks to one of my other characters that I played. That did not say actually what I was supposed to say. There was something else that it said that if it is a construct or a magic item or something like that, it doesn't make a saving throw. It's just vaporized immediately.
Non-magical items.
Non-magical
items are okay.
Yes, you're right. You're right there. So here we go. I pull it up right here. There we go. It says right there. If the target is a large or smaller non-magical object or creation of magical force, it is disintegrated without a saving throw. So as far as if a Warforged is labeled as a humanoid,
Mm-hmm.
then obviously it misses out on that whole hey, I'm not a construct, so I'm fine, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to ask about the whole the way they do armor. Don't they don't actually wear armor. They go to a barber. Ha. They go and get a haircut. Yes, and then their DC AC increases. No, they go to a blacksmith and they or use their own tinker's tools to put armor on themselves, like get steel plates and things like that. So if that's the case, wouldn't that technically just disintegrate away?
Their non-magical armor would disintegrate, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm.
But we're gonna get super technical here.
I did expect this to be a little bit more on the. That's why I have a whole lot of things pulled up on the side right here, because this is a lot of. Look, this is we're stepping into the book and also outside, right? Because we're talking about how broken the beholder can actually be.
So, if the target is its because it's integrated armor,
Mm-hmm.
I would argue that it would if I guess if a Warforged was targeted by the ray, I would probably argue that its armor would just be disintegrated. That being said, it's integrated in but does not necessarily would not expose it completely.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense, it would just be missing a very crucial piece of its defense
Yeah.
for the remainder of the fight.
So this is why I was trying to rule it as a construct, because eventually, and also I forgot about the non-magical stuff as well. Eventually, as it peels the disintegration ray, if it peels away at the armor, it's going to hit the magical part of it, and then the Warforged will still be standing. But at that point, it's like, really, what is left of said Warforged?
Like, honestly, I think I do agree with Ben on that, to be honest. Like, it's just such a hard thing to actually, because I've never really thought of that, to be honest. Because I never played a Warforged. I've never really messed around with them. I've played with one on my team before.
Yes.
So it's like a whole new concept to me. But, shoot, yeah, I think I just agree with him on this.
Yeah? In what way?
So here's the thing. I don't think that it would expose the Warforged because again, and we're going to get super technical here, in integrated protection, because you can don and doff the armor, it just takes an extended period of time. I don't think necessarily that you would be exposing yourself because it is something that you can still take on and off.
Mm-hmm.
It just takes a really, really long time, and the disintegration ray is sort of just a shortcut.
Yep. So that is something that I didn't notice, that I didn't see, is it doesn't talk about things that you're carrying or armor or whatever. It doesn't talk about that being peeled away.
Right.
That being said, it does say about large or small non-magical objects or creation of magical force is disintegrated without a saving throw. So I mean, I can't imagine that if you're targeting someone, maybe to have just a regular sword or a shield or whatever, that's gone too.
I think that what it comes down to is because for the disintegration rate, it says if the target is a creature, so you're targeting the creature, not what the creature is wearing.
Mm-hmm.
But the beholder, if it was really smart and understood what a Warforged was, you could make the argument that it would target the armor of the Warforged as opposed to the Warforged itself.
Well, with a intelligence of 17 and a wisdom of 15, I think it would know exactly where to aim its little death ray right there. Evan, let me get your thoughts on this.
To be honest, like I'm completely caught off guard on this. Because again, I get it. One thing that I'm just kind of with is like, again, we're saying that if it's a larger or smaller non-magical object, right, and it's disintegrate without throw, correct? That's what
Yep.
we're getting at here.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still on the train that it is. I would say a Warforged in general is magical. That's my own thought. It's magical because literally they put life into it through probably magic means. And again, that's going into the whole anti-magic thing and all that bull crap, So technically, in my eyes, no matter what, if you say it's magical or non-magical, it's kind of screwed over by the beholder. No matter what, in any view that you view it, because if you say it's not magical, it's screwed. If it's magical, it's screwed.
That's actually pretty fair. So, my last little interjection here, because we are running out of time. My last little interjection here is Warforged is magical. Yes, I 100% agree because they're putting a magical means into it to be the Warforged. And if they didn't, then that's like an Artificer's construct, something like that. I actually haven't played Artificer, so I don't know all about that. So that's at that point though, if it's not magical means, it's a robot and it's a construct. So at that point, it's just poof, it's gone. So Warforged, magical, yes. What about the pieces of armor that he would put on and integrate into himself? Does that armor also become magical? Because the Warforged is integrating that armor into itself.
Depends. Is it an artificer?
Ugh.
Because artificer, there is a artificer subclass, which is the character that I am currently playing in Mary Beth's campaign.
Mm-hmm.
That armor is magical.
So, what if it was just a regular blacksmith?
If it was just a regular one,
Yep.
I would say that it was not magical.
So, go ahead.
I have this kind of analogy here. When you get a blood transplant put into you, something like your A positive, you can get an A positive blood transplant into you. Yes, you have something that is very similar to you. It's in you at that point, but it is not the same exact blood because of the DNA and the RNA all inside of it. So it wouldn't make it exactly what you are. You don't have any influence on that blood technically. It works for you, but it's not the same thing, and it doesn't give you it doesn't integrate your DNA into those blood cells. So I would kind of think of it like that, how it doesn't integrate the magical property into that armor.
All right. So, if that's the case, then a disintegration ray would be able to disintegrate the integrated armor, just not the Warforged itself.
Yeah, I think it would. So the part where I start to get kind of like mixed in on this is that if the armor is integrated into the Warforged and the Warforged itself is targeted by the disintegration ray, would you consider the integrated armor then the Warforged, and that the armor would be disintegrated the moment that the Warforged was targeted? Do you know what I mean?
I do. I am tracking what you're saying. Excuse me. I think it's like this. It's like this, right? Superman. He has, his heat ray vision.
Mm-hmm.
What people actually, I'm trying to think if it is brought up in any of the movies. I don't think it is. But what's a weird use of the heat ray laser beam eyes, whatever, is he uses it as like, instead of just a single focus beam, using his basically just using peripheral vision, he can make it just a cone instead.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm trying to picture, is if the beholder can do said thing, just expanding it slightly so that it hits the Warforged and also kind of targets the armor. But since it says a ray and not a cone, then I just saw that it's a ray, not a cone. And it says,
right.
So it is just one thing. So he would have to target, so the beholder would have to target the Warforged or his armor.
Mm-hmm.
Crap. Ah, well. Evan, any last thoughts?
To be honest, I think I kind of got my point across, so I did my little analogy with blood and all this other stuff I've been trying to...
Look at school,
man.
College boy. No,
all right.
Yeah.
Cool.
But I think I got what.
Well, so a beholder will definitely be bad news for Warforged, but that wasn't the question. The question, and I'm going to ask it, and I think we know what it is. The answer to this question, let me hear it. Can beholders one-shot kill Warforged with a disintegration ray? Yes or no?
No.
Saying, I guess no.
All right. But we can agree that it is a beholder would be bad news for a Warforged.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Cool. Well, beholders already being the most nasty and honestly my least favorite monster co-op against. I'll take an ancient dragon any day. They are definitely not. Yeah, I know. It's just the way that it works. Different conversation for a different night. Thank you, Ben and Evan, for coming out here, taking time out of your night to discuss. I'm sorry. I should have warned you a little more, but I don't want to give away too many hints. But hopefully you guys aren't pissed at me that it was a little more technical than I let on it to be.
I'm good.
All good.
Awesome. And for everyone watching, thank you very much for tuning in. If you like what you saw, don't forget to like and subscribe. And yeah, watch out for those beholders. They are evil things. All right, thank you guys for coming in, and have a good night.